This guy is reportedly getting vegan meals, his own TV, control of the remote, visits, you name it. I guarantee you he's getting love letters. Think about that for a moment. What is the judge talking about? That he, the judge who is Judge is his last name, that he is somehow violating the rights of Kohberger? I'll tell you, in a nutshell. First of all, the Kohberger judge slamming the defense for quizzing local potential jurors, basically causing an error in the trial yet to be and guaranteeing a change of venue, which is what they want, but also a very insidious, sneaky thing they did was that when the judge wanted to stop the polling, they are now claiming that is violating Kohberger's right to due process. What is due process? It means that basically you're getting treated fairly under the system that we have established in the U.S. You get a right to a jury. You get a right to a fair jury. You get a right to a trial. You get a right to a lawyer even if you cannot afford one. There's a whole host of rights and privileges, and everyone is to be afforded due process, a fair trial. They're now claiming the judge has taken that away from Bryan Kohberger. He's kicked back having his vegan meal right now, laughing his rear end off. Okay, I want to talk one more moment before we go back into what's happening right now, the anger that has been ignited in this courtroom. And I want to go to Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University. Joe Scott, a lot is being made of trial maneuvers. I want to talk about how these four beautiful young Idaho students were found. See, we're seeing them in life. That's not how they were found. That is not how, according to the state, Kohberger left them. Explain.
Chris mentioned the term a little while ago of slaughter. And I'd say that kind of sums it up, what we're talking about here, because we're talking about multiple stab wounds and not just stab wounds. If we are to believe what has been released relative to these defensive injuries, and also one injury in particular defensively, where it sounds as though perhaps the knife was actually dragged across the palm of one of the victim's hands, cutting all the way down to the tendons. These were viable, young, lovely students, children, somebody's children, certainly, that loved them very much, and now they're absolutely gone. And Nancy, one other thing here that we really have to plumb the depths of here, aside from all of these wranglings that they're talking about, this is okay. If I were to rate this case 1 to 10, 10 being the most complex relative to the forensics that are involved, this is going to be right at about a 10, because you're dealing with all of these various facets that we're going to have to examine and be examined in court. We just talked about them outside the context of the courtroom. When you get into this, when you really begin to dig in, there's going to be a tremendous amount of blood evidence, not to mention this DNA evidence that has been at the point of the spear with all of this, and the electronic evidence. Then something that has raised its head along the way is this forensic genealogy that's also come into play. And so the case is complex enough, and you're going to throw this into this mix, and you really, really, if you think the jury pool is tainted at this point, my concern is that the continuity of the evidence is going to be bespoiled in this as well, because this narrative is going to be highly complex to be able to lay out to a jury so that they understand it.
I have the experience that jurors understand really well exactly even complex scientific evidence that they've been given.